Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. Strangle your demons and let's go.
Y'all need Jesus!
All right. First things first, black buffalo in, left side of my lower cheek. Breathe in, vasodilation occurring. Nice calm, subtle alertness. Let's get it. A king without a crown, a king without a crown. Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. I am your host, Eric Hellberg, and yeah, you know, we're like Einstein. You've heard me say that over and over again. We're simply living a month and a day, and we're passionately curious men. We want to know, how the hell did we get here? And now, what are we going to do about it? We're all on this same journey, albeit there's a few different roads branching into this arterial street, and let's figure out our way. Yeah, a king without a crown. Is that the United States now? Perhaps. There's a lot of telltale signs. What about in your own life? If you're a man, have you ever worn the crown and or a crown? And maybe if it was never placed upon your head, or maybe you were told the conditions weren't right in which to do so, that's something to consider. But before we delve off into that and give some simple guidance, and how about this? Let's draw it down to a street level. Instead of simping, maybe we're going to start pimping. Now, come on, man, ease up now. Come on now. Not literally, figuratively. But before we get into a little geopolitical stuff, a little simply political stuff, let's go ahead and dedicate our show today. Who is this for? I'll tell you exactly who it's for. It's for men who have felt unexpressed and or they are unable to express the pain that they are in. They don't know who to tell it to. Moreover, they may not even have the energy to speak of it any longer. This is for the men that are fighting to see their kids. This is for the men that lament, yes, because no relationship is perfect. And I'm going to tell you this, despite what any motherfucker tells you, if two people have tangoed for a while, there's equal fault to go around that whole table. No one goes it alone. No one is all right. And certainly no one is all wrong unless you have a complete deviant. And a sociopath is an entirely different story. Now, people can have traits, but that doesn't mean they're bad to the bone sociopathic. So this show is for you. And you're like, well, how's it for me? Because I'm right here with you. I've been through tons of it in my life in different scenarios. And so the fact you're listening, and I guarantee other people listening are going through it as well, I'm demonstrating it from this side of it. We're going to feel it, we're going to share it, and that will allow us to better examine it vicariously. So that's who this show is for today, men. And if you happen to be a lady listening to this show, well, damn it, listen up. It may help. All right, so now that we got all that out of the way, here's where we're at present. Yeah, I was doing a little self-reflection. I'm like, damn it, Eric, you've been kind of self-isolating. And you know what? You got to get back out there, dude. Got to get back out there with some people who care about you, your friends. So I've been reaching out. We've been talking and got to reminiscing, plus working on a few different business ideas. And so, yeah, you get into the storytelling mode. We men love telling stories, especially if we have some good old accolades. So what it did, it jogged my memory, which is why I did that episode day before yesterday called Mississippi Nights. And of course had the FBI organized crime task force waiting for me right there at the port, basically in Memphis, waiting for this internet load that had unduly affected the backbone of the internet in the geographic locale. So that's why I did it. I remembered that. And my brother-in-law and I were talking, a buddy of mine and I were talking. So done. Then we were talking, going back in the old days. One of these episodes is called San Bernardino. If you never listened to it, if you remember when those nut jobs shot the county facility up in 2015, well, I'm just going to tell you this. Listen to the episode. There's specifics I can't really get into, but you'll get a better overall picture. People had been warned about those guys. They were a Syrian family that had supposedly got radicalized in Wahhabism when they made a trip as a couple to Saudi Arabia. But at least the people who had hired me, I told their top legal beagles that this was a bad deal. It was a ruse for something else. Why the hell did they ever do it? But of course, I was told I was a bad boy. And a week after I had actually flown back out of California, I hear 15 people are dead. I don't know how many others they shot up. I'd have to go back and look. I don't have it in my memory banks. So that was that one. Then someone wanted to know about this dude out in Louisiana. And that's an episode called A Bad Man. Once again, won't get into too many specifics. That dude is still on death row and incarcerated to this day. But those are some interesting ones. There's a lot of other ones in there that I've already published, and there's going to be a lot more to come. So what the hell's going on in the U.S. today? Elon Musk just put out a tweet, and you know what he said? Mr. Musk said either there is a red wave in November or America is doomed. Seems like we've been flirting with that language now for about the last 8 to 12 years. But he is right. He is certainly correct. And I can't remember the episode. Maybe that was a month and a half, 2 months ago. I was talking about, this was when all the indictments were just coming down left and right. Of course, this was before old Fannie Willis had been exposed for having her affair while she was espousing good morality. And some of these things started falling by the wayside. Now their attempt is simply to bankrupt Trump, right? Make everything solely incumbent upon the people that are wishing him benevolence, and not only in thought, but in their funds, because I would say at this point, a lot of his liquidity is tied up in his own life, his own ventures, his family's ventures, and capital that he would have had available to independently, run for president, is being allayed in all these financial traps. So that's the new strategy. They couldn't get all the indictments to stick. They couldn't keep him off the ballot. In fact, that damn elephant ran roughshod over everything. And when I did that one episode, I was still unsure if he was going to get to that point. But in true Trump fashion, he bulled his way forward. That's when Vivek was still in the race and doing a great job. But he bowed out eloquently and he pledged his full support to Donald Trump. So let's get that son of a gun somewhere. I'd say make him Secretary of State. We'll get Pakistan's ass in line, and he can actually coddle India the way they need to be coddled instead of held at arm's length. Anyways, but back then, I said that Joe Biden was not going to make it. We didn't know who was going to be in his stead, but we did not think he was going to make it. And I'm sure of it now. But who is that going to be? And the Democratic side is extremely smart. They've thought out many of these contingencies very well in advance. Who could possibly have a chance against Donald Trump? I don't care if he's slept in the same bedroom as Xi Jinping. We know Gavin Newsom ain't the guy. Hillary's so damn despised, but I tell you what, they've already done some ad hoc and confidential campaigning once again to see if she would be viable. I'm not saying she's totally off the table, but in looking at it all, the Democratic National Convention is coming up in just a couple of months. And where is it going to be? Chicago. And who has delivered some speeches on the floor in Chicago in the past to enormous fanfare? Well, we know Barry Obama has. And we know this is essentially his existential third term. Remember him in his jogging suit with an earpiece talking to Stephen Colbert saying, yeah, I'd love to have someone else do the pomp and circumstance, but I could call the shots. Well, he has effectively done that. But what if I told you they're going for a fourth term? And that I believe on the Democratic side, only Michelle Obama could present a viable challenge to the next Trump presidency. Now, Michelle's just as culpable as Barry. I mean, she didn't hold the presidency, but she definitely went out on the Denounce America tour, right? And expressed her, despite being at the pinnacle of power, expressed her disenfranchisement at the hands of this great country, not unflawed, but still the greatest country in the world, but went around expressing her dissatisfaction in it. And of course, what did Barry run on? Change is coming. We're fundamentally going to change America. And he did. And Biden, through him, has continued to do so. Now, the culpability for Michelle also lies in the fact we now know through a Freedom of Information Act release that when their personal chef, who was accompanied by someone, it was a younger girl, although we have never gotten that identity, we also know that either there was some kind of melee that occurred on that paddleboard with this proficient swimmer in 8 foot of water. But when the drowning occurred, it was actually visualized, witnessed by a Secret Service agent who placed the 911 call to the governing authorities, meaning the local law enforcement in that area. Shouldn't those motherfuckers have been out there helping the poor dude? When the President of the United States lives on an inlet, you're going to have rescue swimmers. You're going to have essentially paramedic type agents who can render aid, at least temporarily for stabilization should something occur. But he's on the phone call specifying that he just saw the man fall off the paddleboard and go down. And then, of course, we know that they were stating that the president and the former first lady were not even at the property when it occurred. Well, then the story went to they were at an adjacent part of the property to the fact that they were in residence. So what the hell really happened there? Maybe we'll get a chance to better find out. Should she actually become the front runner? And my guess is that Joe Biden at the Democratic National Convention will bequeath his delegates to Michelle, and there will be no consternation on the floor because she is going to say that it is being done for the betterment of the country. And that's why you have the circus media tour going on right now denouncing Joe, his frailty, his age, his cognitive abilities, and even his policies. The handwriting is on the wall. That is clear. What hasn't been so clear is who the replacement would be. So let me know what you think about that. You can go right into this episode. You can send me a message via that. And or if you want to send me an external message, get_recovery at msn.com. So let's finish up with a king without a crown. And earlier we mentioned pain and we sang that song. And I am going to tell you, listen here, young lads. Listen here, in between lads. Listen here, older lads. If a woman, a girl, whatever, expresses to you that she does not want to be with you in any capacity, don't doubt it. Take action on it, especially in the formative years, because that lady, that girl, will never be able to amply put a crown on your head. And the power of a woman is such that she can make you a pariah. She can turn you into something that you do not like. She can render you a eunuch as opposed to a king. She can do a myriad of things to you. And now you're saying, well, only if you let her, Eric. You know what? You're exactly right. Because if you accept that initially, that power is gone forever. And you will never, ever get it back and be able to demonstrate the headship by which you are supposed to lead. Take that seriously. And if you ever have a hint of that expression, you challenge it. And I'm going to venture to tell you do that in any interpersonal relationship. And if it goes by the wayside, it goes by the wayside. The only time it is different is in the case of, let's say, a prospective job interview in an employer capacity. They have just authority over you. In an interpersonal relationship, it is your authority. No woman and or no friend has authority over you. Take that nugget, tuck it into your feathered cap, and until next time on the Comfortable in Chaos podcast, that was our buzzer. I bid you bon voyage, my burgeoning flock.
Until next time, like and subscribe to the Comfortable in Chaos podcast.